Money rules the lives of almost everyone. People chase it endlessly, yet very few truly understand what it really is. For the poor, money means survival. For the middle class, it means security. For the rich, it means status. To some, it represents freedom. To others, it is comfort. But to the Machiavellian mind, money is none of these things. It is not comfort. It is not luxury. It is not freedom. Money, in the hands of a strategist, is power made visible. Niccolo Machiavelli, advisor to princes and rulers, never admired gold for its shine. He did not care for wealth as decoration. He cared for wealth as leverage. He saw money the way a general sees terrain, not for its beauty, but for the advantage it offers. Machiavelli understood that money, when applied strategically, can build loyalty. It can silence opposition. It can tilt the balance of an entire kingdom without spilling blood. This is the secret that most people never see. They work for money. They save it. They invest it. They flaunt it. And yet, they remain servants of the very thing they believe they control. They think money itself brings authority, but Machiavelli would laugh at their naivety. Wealth alone is fragile. It can be stolen overnight. It can be drained by taxes. It can be destroyed by inflation, or stripped away by a power greater than your own. True influence does not come from simply owning wealth. It comes from converting it into a force that shapes the behavior of others. This is the Machiavellian art of turning money into power. The elite understand this truth. They do not chase dollars for personal pleasure. They design systems. They bend entire societies around their gravity. For them, money is never the end. It is the weapon. And weapons are judged not by possession, but by deployment. The first rule is clear. Money is not authority, it is ammunition. Ordinary people believe the more wealth they stack, the more powerful they become. They think accumulation equals influence. But Machiavelli would reject this illusion. Wealth unused is wealth wasted. Gold sitting idle is just bait for thieves. Power only emerges when money is used with precision. A fortune sitting still is not respected. It attracts envy, it invites theft. But when deployed wisely, money becomes a weapon, a resource in the war for control. History proves this lesson. Kings who hoarded treasure were forgotten. Their vaults were plundered by the next conqueror. But those who used their wealth strategically created lasting influence. They built armies. They secured alliances. They shaped the destiny of their realms. Their gold was not vanity, it was leverage. The same holds true today. A billionaire who flaunts his riches with cars and yachts impresses the masses, but he remains powerless before a government that can freeze his accounts instantly. Another billionaire, who quietly channels wealth into campaigns, media, or lobbies, holds real power. He controls the frame, not just the furniture. The Machiavellian never confuses wealth with authority. He knows money is useless if it sleeps. He knows influence is born when money is deployed. He sees fortunes as arsenals. He understands that the value of wealth lies not in possession, but in its firepower. That is the first law. Money is not the crown. It is the bullet. And the strategist knows exactly when to pull the trigger. The second rule is simple. Visibility is weakness. Concealment is protection. We live in an age of exposure. People flaunt their wealth for validation. They post luxury watches. They show designer clothes. They rent private jets for photos. They believe that display equals strength. Machiavelli would call this foolish. Because the moment you reveal your fortune, you reveal your vulnerabilities. Transparency is not power. It is danger. And danger invites predators. The elite know this instinctively. The greatest fortunes are rarely seen. They are hidden in family dynasties, protected by trusts, shielded by offshore networks, layered in structures built to stay invisible. Why hide? Because mystery is defense. The less others know about your resources, the less they can predict your strategy. When no one knows your true strength, hesitation becomes your ally. The concealed fortune can strike without warning. It can negotiate without pressure. It can retreat without panic. An obvious fortune paints a target on your back. It breeds envy and rivals. It invites pressure from governments. It awakens predators who calculate what can be taken. The Machiavellian strategist avoids this trap. He hides in plain sight. He may appear modest. He may downplay his wealth. But behind the curtain, his reach extends through industries and politics. He welcomes being underestimated, because underestimation is the strongest shield of all. When others assume you are weak, they lower their guard. They reveal their plans. They fail to prepare. And this gives you the advantage. The rule is simple. Never let your money speak louder than your mind. If people know what you have, they will plan to strip it. If they doubt what you have, they will hesitate. And hesitation creates time. Time creates opportunity. History is full of this lesson. Kings who flaunted treasure were overthrown. Their excess gave enemies reason to attack. But rulers who kept their wealth hidden lasted longer. Their enemies never knew the true measure of their strength. The same principle applies today. The billionaire on magazine covers becomes a target. The quiet billionaire who funds institutions through layers of anonymity is untouchable. The Machiavellian knows that power thrives in the shadows. Wealth that is visible is wealth that can be destroyed. Wealth that is concealed becomes indestructible. So let the fools brag on social media. Let them display cars, jewels, and mansions. They will attract thieves, taxes, and enemies. Meanwhile, the strategist builds silently. And when he strikes, no one saw him coming. The third rule is the key to real control. Dependency creates authority. Wealth alone is not enough. Money sitting still cannot command. The real power of wealth comes from how many lives depend on it. A salary creates obedience. A loan creates obligation. A contract creates silence. Every financial tie binds people tighter than any speech or promise. Machiavelli feared dependence for himself, but he valued it as a weapon over others. He knew that whoever controls survival controls behavior. The one who holds the bread commands the hungry. The one who funds the army commands the soldier. The one who controls income controls loyalty. Look at today's world. Corporations design ecosystems where millions rely on them for work. Employees stay quiet not out of love, but out of need. Governments provide benefits that create cycles of reliance. Citizens obey not out of respect, but out of fear of losing support. Billionaires fund ventures, charities, and projects. On the surface, it looks generous. In reality, it builds networks of dependency. Gratitude becomes loyalty. Loyalty becomes silence. Silence becomes control. Dependency transforms money from currency into gravity. It pulls people into orbit. They circle around the source because they cannot afford to leave. Their survival is tied to the strategist. They become predictable. They become manageable. Ask yourself this: does your wealth build dependence? Do others need you? Or do you only need them? If the latter, you are not powerful. You are only a decorated servant. True authority comes when others cannot function without you. When their income, their reputation, or their future rests on your support. At that point, your fortune has moved beyond money. It has become command. History again shows this lesson. Rulers who gave gifts freely gained temporary gratitude. But rulers who structured dependence created dynasties. Armies were paid. Courts were funded. Merchants thrived only through royal favor. The people could not rebel because rebellion meant starvation. The Machiavellian understands this principle perfectly. Wealth should not free you from others. It should bind others to you. Because once their survival depends on you, their freedom ends. This is the third law. Money is not real power until it becomes the lifeline of others. Dependency is the invisible chain, and those who hold the chain control the lion. The fourth rule is sharp and unforgiving. Money is the truest test of loyalty. Words are cheap. Promises are fragile. Vows dissolve under pressure. But money forces choices that reveal real character. Machiavelli understood this with clarity. Loyalty in poverty means little. A friend who stands beside you when you have nothing is untested. The true test comes when wealth enters the room, when opportunity arises, when betrayal could be rewarded. That is when the mask falls. The Machiavellian strategist never accepts loyalty at face value. He tests it, not with speeches, but with money. He gives controlled opportunities, small advantages, Carefully calculated gifts, not to be generous but to observe. How does the recipient respond? Do they become humble or arrogant? Do they grow more supportive or more envious? Do they repay with respect or with entitlement? Money reveals character faster than time. A man who worships wealth will betray for it. A man who resents your fortune will undermine you. But the rare man who becomes more disciplined when given access to wealth is the one worth keeping. For the elite, wealth is never about buying loyalty. It is about measuring it. They distribute favors like experiments. Every gift is a test. Every loan is a question. Every opportunity is a mirror. When someone fails the test, they are cut off. Not with anger, not with noise, but with surgical precision. The Machiavellian removes them quietly, because loyalty broken once will break again. This is why money is such a ruthless filter. It exposes envy, it uncovers greed, it highlights hidden resentment, and it separates the dependable from the dangerous. The wise strategist never asks for loyalty with words. He creates situations where money does the questioning. He observes behavior in the shadows, and he trusts actions over promises. The lesson is clear. Do not wait for betrayal when stakes are high. Test loyalty when the price is small. See how people behave with little before giving them much. This is the fourth law. Money is not only a weapon, it is a mirror. It reflects the true face of those around you. And once you see the truth, you act accordingly. Loyalty is not what people say. It is what they choose when tempted. And money makes the choice unavoidable. The fifth rule shatters a common illusion. Power is not in the numbers. Power is in the flows. The naive man counts his money. He checks his net worth. He obsesses over bank accounts. He believes that the size of the number equals the size of his authority. But Machiavelli would shake his head. True influence does not come from how much wealth you hold. It comes from how much wealth you direct. Consider this example. A billionaire may have billions locked away in accounts, but a minister controlling a national budget of hundreds of billions wields more authority, even if his personal fortune is small, because control of distribution outweighs possession. Always. This is the law of flows. When you control where money moves, you control where people move. Employees adjust to the flow of salaries. Partners align with the flow of contracts. Governments bend to the flow of funding. Everyone orbits around the source of distribution. The one who writes the checks dictates the frame. The one who funds projects determines direction. The one who grants credit controls possibility. And the one who closes the tap decides who starves. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. Kings did not simply own treasure. They decided who received it. This decision shaped the balance of loyalty. It determined which families thrived and which faded. The treasure itself mattered less than its allocation. Modern elites follow the same principle. They invest in media to control attention. They fund politics to control policy. They build infrastructure to control dependency. They rarely shout their wealth. Instead, they direct streams of influence that others cannot escape. To practice this rule, stop obsessing over accumulation. Start thinking about circulation. The river is more powerful than the reservoir, because the river shapes the land. A reservoir merely sits waiting to be drained. The lesson is clear. Do not dream of being the richest man in the room. Dream of being the man who controls the flow. The one whose hand opens or closes the gate. The one others cannot afford to oppose. This is the fifth law. Numbers impress the ignorant. Flows command the wise. The Machiavellian does not boast about how much he has. He calculates how much he can move. And in that movement lies real authority. The sixth rule is among the darkest. Control is easiest when people believe money itself is the ultimate reward. The powerful rarely chase the same prize as the masses. The masses fight for salaries. They fight for promotions. They fight for inheritances. They fight for bonuses. But the elite do not waste time in those battles. They position themselves to control the system that hands out the rewards. Machiavelli saw this clearly centuries ago. Princes gave land, titles, and payments not because they valued them, but because they knew others did. The real prize was never the coin. The real prize was obedience bought with the coin. The same pattern continues today. Corporations dangle promotions to keep workers running. Politicians promise subsidies to win compliance. Influencers sell dreams of financial freedom to capture attention. Meanwhile, the true architects operate behind the curtain. They design the structures. They own the sources. They decide what the masses compete for. The strategist knows that as long as people see money as the end goal, they can be controlled. Because they will self-regulate. They will censor themselves. They will exhaust themselves. They will even destroy themselves chasing the illusion. The Machiavellian lets them believe. He lets them think the check is the treasure. He lets them worship the title, the raise, the bonus. He lets them celebrate trophies, while he quietly secures control of the distribution system. Because when you own the source, the trophies lose meaning. When you control the tap, the prize becomes irrelevant. It is not about chasing fortune. It is about creating the frame in which others chase fortune endlessly. Most people believe riches bring freedom. They think wealth ends fear. But Machiavelli observed the opposite. Money often deepens fear. Because once comfort is tasted, people become terrified of losing it. And fear, not poverty, is the strongest chain of all. This is why the Machiavellian lets the masses run. He feeds them prizes to keep them occupied. He directs their hunger like a shepherd directs sheep. He never competes for the same scraps. He is too busy building the system that defines the game. The lesson is this: let them fight over the visible prize, while you quietly secure the invisible throne. The real game is not about winning trophies. It is about owning the arena. The seventh rule reveals a paradox. Comfort is the most dangerous chain of all. A man in poverty is unpredictable. He has nothing to lose. He is desperate. He is dangerous. He may risk everything because he has nothing at stake. But a man who has tasted wealth becomes careful. He grows attached to his luxuries. He fears losing the identity that money has given him. He begins to censor himself before others do. He becomes tame. Machiavelli understood this weakness. He knew that giving comfort to a man was like giving him a leash. Once he feels secure, he is controlled not by external force, but by internal fear. Fear of loss enslaves him more effectively than chains ever could. The modern elite use this principle with precision. Corporations design lifestyles for their executives that are slightly beyond reach without the company's salary. The moment they leave, their lifestyle collapses. So they stay obedient. Politicians grant privileges to certain groups that can be revoked with a single policy change, so the groups stay loyal. Entire populations are pacified by consumer comforts, cheap luxuries, endless entertainment, constant distractions. People fear losing them more than they fear oppression. Comfort becomes the cage. Not poverty, not violence, but comfort. Because once people are comfortable, they will do almost anything to protect it. This law applies not only to societies but to individuals. A wealthy man chained to his lifestyle becomes vulnerable. If his self-image is tied to his income, he will betray his principles to preserve it. He will obey quietly, not out of respect, but out of fear of losing status. He may appear rich, but he is enslaved. The Machiavellian refuses this chain. He cultivates discipline. He enjoys wealth but does not rely on it. He lives in comfort, but he does not let comfort define him. He can walk away at any moment, and this ability to detach makes him untouchable. Here lies the paradox. The poor are enslaved by need. The rich are enslaved by fear of loss. But the strategist, who can detach from both, stands above them. He is free because he cannot be bribed. He cannot be threatened. He cannot be controlled by promises of gain or threats of loss. History confirms this truth. Rulers who became addicted to luxury weakened their states. They were predictable. They were corruptible. They were soft. But rulers who maintained discipline, who treated comfort as a tool rather than a master, held power longer. They were feared because they could sacrifice luxury without hesitation. The Machiavellian strategist treats comfort like a mask. He wears it when useful. He discards it when necessary. He never lets it bind him. Because the moment comfort becomes necessary, freedom is lost. This is the seventh law. Comfort is not freedom. Comfort is a leash. The wise do not tighten it around their own necks. They use it to control others while staying free themselves. To enslave a man, give him wealth he cannot afford to lose. To enslave a people, give them comforts they cannot imagine living without. And to free yourself, learn to detach from both. This is the ultimate Machiavellian discipline. Enjoy comfort, but do not depend on it. Use it as bait, but never let it become your chain, because the one who fears losing comfort has already surrendered his power. You have now seen the 7 Machiavellian laws of money. Each one is simple. Each one is brutal. Each one cuts through the illusions most people live under. The first law taught you that wealth is not for luxury. It is for leverage. The second law showed you that visibility is weakness. The third revealed that dependency creates authority. The fourth exposed money as the truest test of loyalty. The fifth shifted your focus from numbers to flows. The sixth unmasked the trick of letting others believe money itself is the prize. And the seventh reminded you that comfort is the strongest chain of all. Together, these rules form a system, not of riches, but of power. Because in truth, money is never the end. It is always the means. The weak spend it to display. The strong use it to command. Most people will never understand this. They will chase visible wealth. They will post their trophies. They will tie their self-worth to possessions. And in doing so, they will remain servants. Servants of envy. Servants of fear. Servants of systems they did not design. The Machiavellian strategist sees differently. He knows that fortune is not for showing, it is for shaping. Not for comfort, but for control. Not for freedom alone, but for authority over others. He uses money as a tool, not an idol. He treats it as a weapon, not a decoration. This is the uncomfortable truth. The one the powerful already know. The one the masses refuse to see. That wealth does not liberate by itself. It enslaves the weak, but empowers the cunning. And only those who master these laws escape the trap. Now the question remains, will you treat money like a toy, or will you treat it like a blade? Will you become another servant of comfort? Or will you step into the shadowed ranks of those who rule with silence, patience, and control? The choice is yours. The rules are in front of you. The rest is discipline. If you found value in these insights, share them. If you want more, subscribe. And remember, this is Psychology Insights, where the truths most fear to speak are spoken.